People that have mass hallucinations all the time about a lot of.
Most pictures of Jesus we see today show him as a light-skinned man. But what if that's not quite right? There's a letter written a long time ago that might change how we think about Jesus' appearance. It's from a man named Lentulus, who wrote to Caesar. In the letter, he describes Jesus in great detail. And guess what? His description doesn't match the usual pictures we see. Some people say the letter is fake, that Lentulus never existed. But if it's real, it could tell us a lot about Jesus. And it might make us look at those old pictures in a whole new way. So, what exactly does this letter reveal? Join us as we take a dive into the letter and see what it reveals about Jesus. Who was Lentulus? How did he know Jesus so well? And what does his description tell us about the real Jesus? The Divine Mercy image. In the 20th century, one of the first pictures of Jesus was the Divine Mercy image. Many Roman Catholics and Anglicans use this picture almost everywhere. According to stories, Jesus appeared to, and showed the design of the picture to, Saint Faustina Kowalska in a vision in 1931 in Plock, Poland. Faustina wrote in her diary that Jesus appeared to her and asked her to have an artist paint a picture like the one she saw. Faustina found an artist named Eugene Kazmarowski to make the Divine Mercy picture of Jesus. In this picture, Jesus is shown with his right hand raised and a blessing in his left hand touching his chest. Two big rays, one red and the other white, come out from near his heart. These rays mean that the picture shows the kindness and mercy of God given to the world, especially through baptism and the Eucharist. The Divine Mercy image has become a very popular symbol of hope and forgiveness for many people all over the world. It has been made in many different ways, including paintings, statues, stained glass windows, and cards. The image has also inspired many prayers, songs, and spiritual exercises. Although the Divine Mercy image is very popular, it is said that Jesus said that the spiritual aspect of the picture is more important than the picture itself. When Faustina first saw the original picture being painted, she cried and complained to Jesus, "Who will paint you as beautiful as you are?" Jesus answered her, "It's not about how beautiful the colors or the brushstrokes are. The greatness of this picture is in my grace." This message reminds us that we should focus on the spiritual meaning and blessings of the image, not just how it looks. That's not the only popular picture of Jesus we have today though. There are other ones with very interesting backstories. The Head of Christ by Warner Sallman. Another significant image of Jesus is the Head of Christ by Warner Sallman. This iconic depiction, often referred to as the Sallman head, became one of the most widely reproduced religious images of the 20th century. In the painting, Jesus is portrayed from the head to the chest, his gentle gaze turned slightly upward and to the side, exuding both serenity and compassion. Sallman, who was both a commercial artist and deeply religious, claimed that the inspiration for the Head of Christ came to him in a vivid, almost otherworldly vision late one night. He described the experience as a moment of divine clarity, saying that the image appeared to him suddenly at 2 a.m. in January of 1924, as if placed in his mind by a higher power. Though initially meant to be a devotional piece for his Christian followers, the Head of Christ quickly transcended its original audience. It was widely adopted by various Christian denominations and even became a comforting symbol for soldiers during World War II, who carried small reproductions of it as a reminder of faith and hope in the midst of battle. The image's reach was so profound that it became almost synonymous with the depiction of Jesus in many homes, churches, and even hospitals around the world. The Coptic Orthodox Church holds this image in particularly high regard due to a miraculous event surrounding a 12-year-old boy named Isaac Ayub. Isaac, who had been diagnosed with a severe form of cancer, saw the eyes of Jesus in the Sallman painting shedding tears. Deeply moved by this vision, Isaac believed that he had witnessed a divine moment. Incredibly, following this experience, Isaac's health began to improve. Father Isaac Solomon of St. Mark's Coptic Church in Houston shared this miracle with the congregation, declaring that Isaac had been healed. This claim was later supported by Dr. Atef Rizqallah, who examined the boy the next day and confirmed that there were no remaining signs of leukemia. The image, already revered, took on a new life in the Coptic community, as a symbol of healing and divine intervention. Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci. Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci is another profoundly important image of Jesus, with an intriguing backstory of its own. This Renaissance masterpiece shows Jesus dressed in a flowing blue robe, typical of the period's rich sartorial style, while he raises his right hand in the gesture of blessing. In his left hand, Jesus holds a perfectly clear crystal orb, a symbol of his dominion over the world and the cosmos. The orb, crafted with such precision, was meant to symbolize not only Jesus' spiritual authority but also the unity and perfection of the divine order. Through this visual metaphor, Da Vinci captured the tension between the earthly and the divine, suggesting that Jesus was the bridge between the two. Salvator Mundi is steeped in the spiritual and mystical traditions of the time, created not merely as an artistic achievement but as a means for people to connect with Jesus on a deeper, spiritual level. The placement of the hand and the orb are no accidents, they were part of a larger theological dialogue that Renaissance thinkers engaged in, a meditation on the dual nature of Christ as both human and divine. Interestingly, Salvator Mundi became the subject of renewed attention in the 21st century when, after centuries of obscurity and restoration, it was identified as an original Leonardo da Vinci painting. In November 2017, the painting made headlines worldwide when it was sold at auction for a staggering $450 million, setting a new record for the most expensive artwork ever sold. The sale reignited debates not only about the painting's provenance but also about Da Vinci's portrayal of Christ, whether it was a historically accurate depiction or a more symbolic representation of divine authority. The painting's mysterious journey through history, its near-lost status, and eventual re-emergence added a layer of mystique, making it one of the most enigmatic and debated images of Jesus ever created. One such letter is from Abgar of Edessa, who is known as one of the early Christian kings. Abgar was among the 70 disciples. In his letter to Jesus, he calls him the good physician and asks for healing of his disease. Many people believe that Jesus did visit Abgar and healed him. However, the response from Jesus indicates otherwise. Jesus clearly states that he would send one of his disciples to help Abgar instead of going himself. The description of Jesus's healing abilities in Abgar's letter is similar to what we see in Lentulus's description. This comparison helps us establish some level of authenticity for the Lentulus letter based on biblical records. But to truly confirm its authenticity, more substantial evidence is needed. The connection with other historical records and letters adds depth to our understanding of the letter and its place in the broader historical and religious context. In the letter from Pontius Pilate to Tiberius Caesar, Jesus is described as strict, pious, and a strong advocate for truth. This matches up with Lentulus' letter, which also calls Jesus the prophet of truth, and says he was stern when giving reprimands. These descriptions from different letters seem to agree with each other. They suggest that Lentulus had a close encounter with Jesus. But how does this fit with the early images of Jesus that were painted? It's interesting to note that, even though it was not allowed at the time, art started playing a big role in the church. Let's explore how early Christian art represents Jesus and see how it aligns with Lentulus' description. After the original apostles passed away, the early Christian church changed a lot. A small group of dedicated followers kept the faith alive. However, over time, Christianity began to evolve into something quite different from what is described in the New Testament. This change came about gradually, as new practices and beliefs were introduced. The earliest images that are believed to show Jesus date from around AD 24 to 256. These early artists lived about 200 years after Jesus had ascended to heaven. Because of this, they never saw Jesus or met anyone who had. Instead of trying to create a realistic portrait, these early artists used symbolic representations. One of the most common symbols was Christ as the Good Shepherd, holding a lamb. In these images, Jesus is shown as young, strong, and without a beard. Most of these early images were discovered in the catacombs of Rome, which were underground burial sites. This is different from Judea or Asia Minor, where the early Christians lived. Art and syncretism in early Christianity. Historians have a tough job figuring out if these early images really show Jesus. The problem is that they often look like pagan art, which also used the shepherd image to symbolize kindness and care. Early Christian artists often borrowed ideas from pagan art. It wasn't until after Emperor Constantine became involved with Christianity that detailed artistic portrayals of Jesus began to appear in churches. Before Constantine's time, there was a lot of resistance to creating images of Jesus. Many people thought it was wrong to depict him in art. But when Constantine accepted Christianity and started to reshape it to fit Roman customs, including the use of statues and images for worship, this changed. By the end of the 4th century, images of Jesus were becoming common in churches. People began to show great respect for these images. Some even started to worship them. Supporters of this practice argued that they were honoring symbols of their absent Lord and his saints. Despite ongoing resistance, the use of icons and images became firmly established in Christianity, particularly in Rome and Byzantium. Even though there were debates about it, art has played an important role in helping us visualize what Jesus might have looked like. The descriptions in the Bible give us some clues, but these early images offer a more tangible way to imagine Jesus's physical appearance. They complement the descriptions found in letters like Lentulus and give us a better understanding of how early Christians might have pictured Jesus. Now, let's turn our attention to something called the Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin and the image of Jesus. The artwork representing this emerging form of Christianity didn't just spring up out of nowhere. One of the most intriguing pieces of evidence is a cloth that some believe bears the actual image of Jesus. This cloth has fascinated historians and scientists alike, leaving many to wonder if it might have come from a divine source. In the year 1354, a piece of cloth known as the Shroud of Turin, or the Veil of Veronica, was discovered. This ancient linen cloth bears the faint yet detailed image of a man who many historians believe to be Jesus Christ. The Shroud of Turin, also called the Holy Shroud, is a length of linen with the faint impressions of the front and back of a man who appears to have been crucified. For centuries, it has been revered by many, particularly within the Catholic Church, as the actual burial shroud that wrapped Jesus's body after his crucifixion. According to tradition, Jesus's bodily image was miraculously imprinted onto the shroud. The Shroud of Turin is a 14th-century artifact that has become a significant Catholic icon. Some people believe it is the authentic burial cloth of Jesus Christ, while others see it as a powerful religious symbol that represents the story of Christ, even if it's not the original shroud. Despite more than 600 years of historical records, the Shroud of Turin continues to be a major symbol for Christians around the world. What makes it so remarkable is the way the image was formed. How could the perfect impression of a human body be left on a cloth without harming the material itself? Scientists have speculated that a force similar to a thermonuclear flash might be responsible. This would be a process much more controlled than a nuclear explosion, leaving an image on the surface of the fibers without penetrating or damaging the cloth's thickness. It's as if the image was imprinted with such precision that only the top layer of fibers was affected, capturing a clear and detailed impression of a human form. The Transfiguration Theory and the Shroud. There's another interesting theory about the Shroud of Turin, which some people believe shows a miraculous image of Jesus. This theory suggests that the image on the shroud could be a result of the same divine power Jesus displayed during his transfiguration. The idea is that, during this event, a burst of divine energy from Jesus caused his blood to evaporate in an instant. At that moment, his image and body imprint were left on the cloth, preserving a literal snapshot of his resurrection. The shroud shows a faint image in a straw yellow color, appearing on the top layer of the cloth fibers. The image depicts a man with a beard, mustache, and shoulder-length hair parted down the middle. According to the description in Lentulus's letter, this man is tall and muscular. Measurements of the shroud suggest that the figure on it is between 1.70 to 1.88 meters tall, which is about 5 foot 7 inches. Additionally, reddish-brown stains are found on the cloth, matching the wounds described in the Bible's account of Jesus' crucifixion.